All right, let's get our Facebook folks in here. It's officially time to go. We got Spinning Wheel 1 and Spinning Wheel 2. Hello. Welcome in. It is Scott and Nick again. Welcome to Wednesday night. Gosh bless. Carl couldn't go last night. Luke couldn't go last night. So Nick and Scott for the 7th show of the week, 6th show of the week, something like that.
I don't have anything else to do. No, it's nice. Only one practice tonight. So for the boy, and then my wife's going to get the girls. So I'm available. Here we are. And Nick, I tell you what, reading through in the press conferences today and all the talk, there's some this was a good day. We were talking, it's like, we'll get into it all, but I'm excited. I am excited about Broncos football.
Yeah, absolutely. It's football's right around the corner. We are, what is it? 7 days, about 2.5 weeks until real football is here. Monday Night Football, Broncos at Seattle coming here. I will be at the game. If you guys are at the game, holla at your guy on Twitter. But welcome in Wednesday night. Luke cannot be here. Luke took a little spill on his Harley, so he's taking it easier this week. So Scott was luckily nice enough.
That sounds better than slipping in the bathtub anyway.
Yeah. He's well, Godspeed, Luke. He's been dealing with some stuff, so we'll see. He'll be back again soon, full strength, but send him some good vibes. But Scott and Nick again, hanging out, talking some Broncos football. Hopefully you guys aren't tired of us. I know I'm not tired of you guys, especially Dylan Von Ark's coming in saying, "Sup, Broncos country." Make sure you guys hit that like button on the way in and all caps subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much, Dylan. We appreciate you. We also got With First No Fear saying good evening, Nick and Scott, and all of Broncos country. We also got the hello With First No Fear. Diamond Rattler saying, "Boom, let's ride, Diamond. Hope you're doing well." Kevin Gray coming in. I think we answered this question last night, 2 nights ago,
and then it was in the comments. So I'm feeling. They're even like stickers and emojis about gelling. I'm gelling. Are you gelling? We're gelling. Who's Magellan? So I'm like, all right, are we being trolled now?
Gelling like a felon. Who knows? I'm more of a moose guy myself for my hair. Gel's kind of in the early 2000s. No, how many weeks for the team to gel? It's hard to say. New scheme, new quarterback. As long as they are healthy and rolling come the last 6 weeks of the season, they were able to, string along some talent early on. You hope they're gelling, but what even is gelling? Are we a Dr. Scholl's ad now? What's going on?
And every team's different.
Yeah.
Some are right away, some not at all, some peak in the middle of the season and then fall off. So it all is different. And then Nick D says, if Billy Turner isn't actually 100% by week 1, I don't want him playing. Yeah, you want him for the long haul. I agree with you on that one, Nick. And Kathy coming in said, good evening, breakfast for dinner, dudes. Yeah, I just finished my 2 bowls of cereal. So my breakfast for dinner, it's pretty standard. Did I see something about a setback for Billy Turner? You did, and it was he has not had a setback for Billy Turner, and he will be at a practice. So it was good news. That came out yesterday, unless something has happened today that I haven't seen. And I don't think it has. So the question was, did Billy Turner suffer a setback and will he practice? That was yesterday. And Nathaniel Hackett says he did not suffer a setback and he will be practicing. So all good things for Billy Turner.
Yeah, and the Broncos are going to need him. Calvin Anderson has been swing tackle-esque there this year at right tackle. I think they set him up, had a golden opportunity to take it and run with it. And just from what I've heard and what I've seen, just been So fine as your guy who can come in and play right tackle or left tackle, preferably in case of injury. Actually, not preferably. You'd rather not have that. But you have Tom Compton coming back. You want Billy Turner being your starting right tackle, though.
He looks like a really good option as your third right tackle. I thought he's looked. If you set your expectations to be like, okay, they brought in 2 guys to compete for the right tackle spot, and one of them wasn't Calvin Anderson.
No.
In that context, he's looked okay. This is your third guy. He's a third stringer there that is starting. You don't want that. You want Billy Turner and Tom Compton working for that position. So in that context, Calvin Anderson has been okay.
Yep.
But I don't want him starting at right tackle.
Yeah.
I like him as a depth piece, and that's what he was signed for. He was signed to be a depth piece, not to be a starter. At least that's my understanding of it, Nick.
Nope, brought him in, developed him. Him and Bowles are really close. I think he's best as your third string right tackle and your second string left tackle for just his comfortability. comfort at the position, at least how it looks for me. We got Phil McLaughlin coming in saying, good evening, Nick and Scott. Hashtag let's ride. Hashtag MHH for life. Thank you so much for the stars, Phil, for getting us the ball rolling here today. Happy hump day to you. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate the stars, Phil. And one of those good news pieces today was, it looks like Albert, this is from Albert Knoppers. Thank you for coming in, Albert. Good to see you. He says, it looks like KJ Hamler will get some reps. Nice target for Rippin. So lots of news in the press conference today, which, usually there's just not a lot going on in a press conference. So this was actually a good day for that type of stuff. And God bless Nathaniel Hackett for it. He's not out there trading state secrets. He's talking football. That Brett Rippin has deserved a shot, and that we could see KJ Hamler they're going to discuss that with KJ himself. Do you think you need to be out there to feel like you're ready? I would imagine KJ is going to say, yeah, I want to get out there and let's get this over with. It'll be a little nerve-wracking for him at first. I'm sure it'll help that he's been through this before. But let's get him out there. I want to see him out there in the preseason. If he's healthy, let's get him some live reps in the preseason. It's a little ironic to me, Nick. The coaches complain about lack of contact at practice and not enough practice time and everything's gone soft, this, that, and the other, but nobody wants to play preseason games.
Yeah.
That's a little contradictory to me.
Get off my lawn. That's what I hear. It's the new age of football, and it's on these players to be adults. They're going from the high school level where the teacher's leading them through lectures versus, here are your slides. You need to know this stuff. I'm not covering it, but it will be on the test. You need these guys to be professionals and the smart players. And that's why you want to be drafting football players, not just athletes, people who are students of the game. So that way you can do higher concept stuff and not have to risk injury out there, having to go through the same simple install over and over and over again. Dave Glassman coming in saying, light on stars, but we'll get you next week. We're going to hold you to that, Dave. No, it's okay, Dave. Don't worry about it. We saw
Dave,
you come
we love
in.
you. We appreciate you being in here. We saw you come in late last night, I think, as we were hitting the exit button, says, hey, these are the last of my stars. Well, thank you for spending your time and some of your resources with us. Again, I say that's very humbling to a couple of schmoes like me and Nick.
Yeah. Couple of schmoes indeed. We also got Gary Leeds Palmer, no schmo here, saying, good evening, Nick and Scott. Any roster predictions? Broncos country, exclamation point. Go Broncos. Let's ride. Scott, any bold roster predictions?
Yes. I don't know how bold they are. My eyes lit up like this when I was reading through the quotes today. Let me see if I can find it. Nathaniel Hackett was asked about wide receivers Kendall, Hinton, and Seth Williams. He talks them up, did this, did that, good things, and then finishes it off. I think all of these guys have a chance to be able to play in the NFL.
Maybe not here.
He didn't say have a chance to play for the Denver Broncos. He said have a chance to play in the NFL. And that was on Kendall Hinton and Seth Williams. Ooh, that says to me, Freud says there are no accidents, there are no slips. That says to me like he's almost already prepared the speech for those guys.
Yeah.
Come cut down day. Hey, you guys have done some great things here. You've got a great chance to be in the league. Unfortunately, it can't be with us. NFL limits how many guys we're going to have. You will find a spot in the NFL somewhere because you're good players. That one caught my attention today, Nick.
Yeah, I think that just based on what I've heard and what we've seen, Seth Williams specifically, probably practice squad or waived elsewhere with Brandon Johnson surpassing him, who's, what was he, Southwest Missouri State, Northwest Missouri State, or no, he went to UCF, I think, actually. But regardless, he seems to have surpassed Seth Williams. They're getting a lot of first-team reps in practice and early reps in the Bills game. Not sure about Kendall Hinton. He was out to the first reps, but the one name that I think we keep forgetting about just because he's not been dynamic we haven't seen him in preseason, hasn't really been dynamic in games, but I just keep hearing about what a dynamic special teams player he is, and that's Tyree Cleveland. So that might be if you're talking about your sixth wide receiver there, maybe they're going to value the guy who's an exceptional gunner versus the Hall of Famer, Kendall Hinton. So,
so where does that put us saying Bassey? Is he safe as a cornerback? Because or you need two gunners. Okay. So you do. And Asang Bassey's pretty good in that role also. Can you afford to carry two guys in that spot that aren't necessarily contributing in other areas?
I don't know if Asang Bassey is a dynamic enough athlete to, get past that first guy and then sprint down the field. Has a hard time following crossers. I think you're more likely to see J.R. Reed in that role for his special teams contribution than you are Asang Bassey. But will be interesting. The other thing is being a defensive back, Asang Bassey is super limited in his role in the backfield. He's slot only, and I think that's a detriment. Even if he'd have to be a special teams player, an Avery Williamson kind of guy, and he's not that. So,
and Klee comes and he says, Freud also said, "I'm hot for teacher," or maybe that was someone else. No, that was definitely someone else. Klee, that was the doctor, David Lee Roth.
Of course. We got Zach Viginolo coming in here saying, "Good evening, Broncos country. Let's ride. Good to see you." And Donald saying, "I'll be at the game Monday night at Seattle. Can't wait. Let's ride." All right, Donald, let's head up, man. Seattle is beautiful that time of year. Hopefully no wildfire smoke, but should be a great game. And I am not sure how soon I'm going to get there, where I'm going to go, et cetera, et cetera. I need to do some research on that, but damn, I'm excited for it. And not to bring up my bad juju, but I've been to 6 or 7 Broncos game, and I've never seen them win a game live. So,
we'll find out here. You go to that game, I'll bet on the Seahawks.
The reverse
My
jinx.
juju is much worse than yours. I promise you. I'll bet on the Seahawks straight up to win. Money in the bank for the Broncos. The Skinnedy curse will definitely out. It's around longer. I mean, it's an age thing.
For sure. My percentage is pretty darn high, though, unfortunately. Although I've seen them almost only play good teams. So is what it is.
Shots fired.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like teams where it's like it's a coin flip if they're going to win or not.
No, I'm teasing. Yeah, but I've seen them only play good teams. And they haven't played a team like Seattle.
Yeah. I mean, Seattle's not
That's
very
what
good,
I mean by that.
Yeah.
You were so innocent with it, you didn't even get the joke.
No. That happens most of the time. Big E Broncos saying, "What a treat we're getting Broncos for breakfast for dinner 2 nights in a row. Absolutely. Eggs. It's what's for dinner." We got Michael Ronquillo coming in. Good evening, Nick and Scott on the Mile High Insiders. Let's ride and go Broncos. Also, Tyler's going to say, "Me too, Donald, going to the game. Good to see ya." We have Nick D saying, "I think KJ Hamler needs to play preseason so he can still prove he's as fast as he was. Virgil has the exact same speed as him, but is taller." We talked about this a little bit yesterday, Nick. I don't think the speed is similar for Virgil as it is for KJ Hamler, and Jalen's much more of a straight. It's why he's such a good gunner. He's a straight line kind of guy, sprint down the field, track kind of guy, where Hamler is jitterbug explosive, quick start and stop ability. Saw him running routes out there today and still look pretty fast to me. So got to stay healthy. I'd be fine with him, getting out there and even just stretching his legs a little bit. Don't even get him the ball. Just 2 series. You're going to run a couple slot fades, a couple nines, maybe a couple crossing routes. If it gets to you, that's great. But we really just want you to kind of feel what it's like to go against another opponent again, rather than just these practice reps.
Yeah. And if the knee is structurally sound, then it's the mental part that you want to get out there and get hit, stick your foot in the ground and cut and be like, okay, I'm going to be okay, and get that by you, because your brain will play tricks on you for sure. So get that behind you. And again, he's had the experience of going through this, so he'll be ahead of some guys, but it's typically an 18-month before you are 100% after an ACL. And this is a second one. So, and some stuff, as we've said. So God bless him if he comes back to, becoming the same athlete that he was. But even if he's 95%, that's still more than most. So he's someone we're absolutely rooting for. And it sounded like he could get a shot this week, which if he's ready, great. And I don't think they're going to put him out there after all this if he's not ready to go.
Yeah. Nope. I mean, just kind of taking the training wheels off a little bit and, letting that baby run. We got Dave from Georgia coming in here saying, "Sup, Broncos country. Good to see you, Dave." Tyler also comes in here and says, "I know it's just preseason, but did Evero have a bad game calling plays, putting us in not advantageous plays?" Scott, this is obviously for the Bills game. I'm going to take this first and just say, when the Bills are running for 6 yards a carry and 200 yards in like 3 quarters or something, they could have run for 300 yards. It's really hard to do much play calling wise when you're just getting the absolute tar beaten out of you up front, like the Broncos defense was. Definitely bad. Definitely at a disadvantage as far as talent goes, but that just looked like a talent disparity up front, and there's not much scheming you can do to overcome that.
You know, the old phrase, it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes. I don't think you could tell if he called a bad game or not when you were getting your ass kicked right up the middle of the defense. You throw everything else out the window. Your linebackers aren't going to look as good. Your defensive secondary is going to look as good because you're getting gashed up the middle. So until you can stop the old fullback dive, go way back, the old triple option. Option one was give the belly dive. You can't stop that. You can't do anything. So I don't know what kind of game Evero called because the Bills were running at will up the middle. And if you can't stop that, it doesn't matter. And it's not like there weren't players there. They had 2 inside linebackers, 2 interior linemen. They were just getting blown off the ball in just wide open spaces.
Moses in the Red Sea this past Saturday, unfortunately. Jay Kozad comes in and says, my biggest fear going into the regular season is we're not going to be in football shape. You can only have so many walkthroughs. Again, I'm very pro player, and I am pro player in the sense that I don't think you need to be beating the heck out of each other in preseason to get into football shape. That's what the players want for the most part. I mean, you've heard Derek Wolfe, you've heard Shelby Harris talk about, Vic Fangio's difficult practice pretty much killing them before the season even starts. I don't know if you heard the thing about Scott Frost this past week, saying, he's bragging about how good his practices have been. He has about 7 offensive linemen throwing up every practice. Like, buddy, that doesn't sound very good to me. It sounds like they're injuring the players. But anyway, I think that if the players come through, it is a worry, but I'm putting the onus more so on the individual players than not getting it done than the coaching staff. This is what you want. You need to be an adult and do your work then and make sure you're ready to go when it's actually game time.
And there's rules. I mean, there's NFLPA rules about what you're allowed to do and what not to do and how much you're allowed to do and how much you're not allowed to do. That if we're looking at this in a bubble, I'm following several teams. I don't see it being that much different, so if the Broncos aren't in game shape, is anybody else in that much better a game condition than the Denver Broncos, especially when I'm training at mile high ish and I'm about to go to sea level? I mean, that's an advantage to a certain extent. People always talk about coming to Denver and playing and how hard that is because of the acclimation to the elevation. I don't see that it's going to be that much different than anybody else. Like the walkthroughs, the lighter practices. That's what I said at the top of the show, is all of these non-contact stuff that you're not allowed to do. The coaches complain about what they're not allowed to do at practice, but then they don't take advantage of the preseason games. That's contradictory to me. So it's almost like I want to beat the hell out of them at practice when I have control of things instead of letting it go where they could possibly get hurt where I don't have control. And that makes sense for a coach. They're control freaks. But you can't control everything in there. That's why it's contradictory to me, who's more logical than a control freak.
Yeah. Big E coming in and saying, I'm curious who's the bacon and who's the eggs between you guys. And Scott's definitely not the bacon. I can tell you that much. But also Big E says, Scott would probably say he's Captain Crunch and Nick is the milk. You know what? Milk's good. It's good for the bones. I'm okay being the milk. I'm Midwest, right? I'm not Wisconsin, but I guess that would make me, if I'm from Iowa, that would make me the bacon. More pigs than people in the state of Iowa. But it's true. Not a joke. No, absolutely. God, I'm getting hungry for breakfast now. Dom coming in. Good evening, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Ernie May saying, hello, Nick and Scott. Go Broncos. Chase saying Scott's working overtime this week. Yeah, he is. He's giving him a run for his money. Scott's going to be hoarse by the end of this week.
Extra showers to get ready. No, I'm joking. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm glad I'm able to be here in a time where it's more fun to do this in August than it is in June. That's for sure. When we're talking about, when you're going to be on a couple times a day and there's different things that happen over the course of the day, there's more interesting things to talk about. That's for sure. Had someone in the comments saying, you guys are kind of beating a dead horse. And I was like, well, I've been on several times, but this was Nick's first time back. And it was the first time we had talked about the game. And yeah, I'd said a couple things over and over. And then it hit me today as I was obsessing over this comment, because I tend to do that. And I'm like, golly, you must have really hated the last 2-3 years with Drew Lock and quarterback and the quarterback debate. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You only talked about one topic, 3 out of 4 days at least. Yeah. So, and I said it wasn't about the X's and O's and Jimmys and Joes. And Andrew comes in with some stars saying it's about the Knicks and the Scotts. No, it's about you. It's about the Andrews and the Alberts and the Garys and the Ethans and all y'all, the Phils, everybody. Love you.
Absolutely. We got Rashad Smith coming in saying the starters need to play 4 plays, score a touchdown and sit out. We need to see what Russell Wilson looks like with our future, with our franchise. we're going to see it soon. We've waited this long. I'm okay waiting another 2 weeks. You also run the risk of, okay, 4 plays. Is there a chance to get hurt? Minimally, but let's say they go out and it's a 3 and out. Do you put them back out there again and you just keep adding risk out there for games that don't matter? Did the Rams need to see that Matt Stafford was their franchise at least for the next few seasons? No, they did not. So I'm not really that worried about it again. I think it comes down to the individual players doing their homework, getting it done in practice, and then using the preseason as an evaluation tool and install tool, more so for the back end of the roster and the young players that need to work on things such as your Albert Okoye-Benoms, your Justin Strnads, et cetera, et cetera.
And remember, this is the NFL where playoffs are all that matters. So they want to make sure as many teams as possible have a chance at the playoffs. 7-7 and you're in the hunt.
Yep.
It's just the way it is. 7-7, you're in the hunt. And then we can talk about gelling at the right time and getting hot at the right time and keeping everybody healthy. So I don't think we need to see in the preseason what Russell Wilson looks like with our franchise. I think we need Russell Wilson to be healthy for 17 games this year. That's more of a need for me. So Phil coming in, calling his shot with some stars. He says Broncos 24, Seattle 3. Wilson doesn't play the second half. Nick ends his streak. Man, we waited all this time. We're only get 2 quarters from Russell Wilson. Possibly. I think he'll probably play at least 3 though. Let him walk out, sub him in the middle of the series so he can walk off and get, jeered, and the traveling support can give him a standing O. That sounds like more fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound a lot more fun. I'm hoping for the Broncos just to punch him in the mouth, have the run game going, make it easy for Russell Wilson. If you pitch and catch big plays, the old run and shoot offense. Ethan coming in, always good to see.
Wouldn't it be fun, Nick, just to finish that thought for you, to add on to it? Wouldn't it be fun if the week 1 was see Russell Wilson? He's nothing but a running game anyway. Yeah, and so?
Yeah. Yeah, God.
Like I said, if I can run it down your throat, why would I put it in the air? So rush for 250 yards. That's fine with me.
Yeah, exactly. No issue with that. Ethan, good evening, gents in Broncos country. Good to see you, Ethan. Always appreciate you. Now the evening crew, I hear you're back stateside, so hope you're doing well. We appreciate you. Scott and I miss you in the morning, but glad that you're still hanging out with us here. We really appreciate it. Also, I think I saw that you had a thanks come into one of our morning shows recently, so we really really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Always there. Yep. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Absolutely. Kenneth Patterson. Oh, go ahead. Sorry about
that. That's okay. Benjamin Flores put some work into this one. I wanted to make sure it was seen. So I'm tall enough to get over the top of this one. So what's up, fellas? Super excited for the season, but not going to lie, I'm pretty darn worried about our strength of the line on both sides of the ball, especially within our division. I just want to win over the Chiefs and would love to sweep the Raiders. A pass rush on our own division might prove to be a problem, though. It's a tough division, without a doubt. There's nobody saying otherwise. Nobody agrees on anything except that the AFC West is the strongest division in football right now. Worried about the strength on the defensive lines. I mean, on the lines, not just defensive lines. Yeah, it's a little bit of a concern. It was a big problem last year. It was definitely a big problem last year, and you didn't do a whole lot to address it with personnel. DJ Jones should be an upgrade. Josie Jewell coming back should help against a run.
I think DJ Jones and I think Shelby Harris is getting a little bit underserved. I think Shelby Harris to DJ Jones is not a monumental change in,
which is a concern then,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Which is a concern.
Yep. Sorry to cut you off. I just
Lloyd Cushenberry in the middle of your offensive line, still relatively. You hope unproven, because if he's proven, it's been proven to be bad. So you hope that he's still on the ascendancy. So I agree with you here, Benjamin, that it is a little bit of a concern. And you hope that there's enough good things going on around that you'll see less stacked boxes, because Russell Wilson will throw the ball downfield. Your quarterback play will be better. Your pre-snap reads will be better. You're getting some weapons back on offense. You've got 2 great running backs. Again, the receiver, the quarterback should be the tide that raises all ships. Should put the defense back on their heels a little bit more. On defense, you're so good on the edges in the perimeter that you're hoping that it can take away from some perceived deficiencies in the middle of your defense.
Yeah.
And then maybe some of those guys step up as well.
Yeah. I do think that, I didn't want to underserve Shelby Harris. You're a very good player here for a number of years. I think it was a little bit more of a down year last year than 2020 for him, but you're definitely an improvement with DJ Jones. It's just the depth around them is questionable. Mike Purcell, we haven't seen him. Last time we saw him, not very good. Deshaun Williams, probably more of a rotational player in my book. Very undersized for the interior defensive line. You're already getting pushed around, so how much does he help there? Biggest pluses on the defense, though. Josie Jewell coming back. I think having Jonas Griffith coming back week one, which is our topic today, at least reportedly should be back, or very well could be back week one. And then, of course, the massive upgrades in terms of talent and depth at the edge position. Even though your second round pick sounds like he's a little bit over his head right now with some stuff, and Nick Benito, you still got depth there at the position. You want those top guys to be healthy, though.
Not all second round picks are created equally. And, he was 64.
Yep.
I mean, he was Mr. Irrelevant in a 2-round draft.
Yep.
He was a second round pick by the skin of his teeth. And you're not necessarily expecting him to come in and be an immediate impact guy on every down. If he can come in, and again, we've talked about him being designated pass rusher. You make a lot of money if you can get a sack every other game and finish with 9 sacks this year.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty good. George comes in with some stars. He says, "Do you believe that neither of our old coaches are in the Hall of Fame?" It's not right. No, I don't. I think both of them probably should be. And Mike Shanahan, and I'm thinking it's Dan Reeves is the other one.
Yep.
Dan Reeves left a big imprint on this game, and so did Mike Shanahan.
Yeah.
There's guys in it that I think probably don't have the resumes that those two do.
To be fair, Coryell deserved to be in as well, and he was selected this round instead of Reeves and Shanahan. So Reeves and Shanahan will get in eventually. I have very little doubt on that, especially the ripples that Shanahan's West Coast offense still has permeating through the league, being a Matt Walsh disciple. But Coryell, I mean, he's one of the big offensive innovators in football all time. If you haven't looked him up, make sure you do if you're a football historian. And I'm glad to see that he got in. Sucks that Reeves and Shanahan have not yet, but I think in due time they will.
I was a fan of Air Coryell when I was a kid. They were cool. Dan Fouts passing the ball was a lot more fun to a 9-year-old kid than 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I didn't really like college football. I'm like, Georgia just beat Georgia Tech on this last drive, and all they did was run the ball on the last drive of the game. I'm like, that's boring. I was 10. What did I know? I didn't get the intricacies of, kicking somebody's ass and running it right down their throat is a lot of fun. But no, not to disparage, Coryell, but yeah, Shanahan and Reeves deserve to be in too.
Yep. Absolutely. Albert Knopper's coming in saying Ojemudia is probably getting cut when he comes back from the injury. He isn't good enough. He's been a big disappointment, but the issue is guys behind him, not very good either. Faion Hicks got beat repeatedly in that Bills game. Mathis has been started off hot, but kind of fallen back to the pack a little bit. Bless Austin, very unnotable so far. Donnie Lewis has been notable in the every wrong way. So I don't see him getting cut because I don't see the options around him. You still have 2 years of cost control with Ojemudia, still a talented player that you hope doesn't see the field that much because Darby and Sertan are staying healthy there on the boundary. But definitely the third cornerback or the first backup boundary cornerback, major concern for this defense depth-wise.
Major concern.
Yeah.
You are definitely, we've talked before, you can use 6 or 7 corners over the course of the season for sure. So having those guys, step up, and Ojemudia, that was a pretty rough injury he had last year too.
Yeah.
He seemed to be playing pretty well leading into that spot. Now, how long is it going to take him to go? And hopefully not too long. Hopefully we'll see the best out of him right now. I mean, in the near future. We're not seeing it right now. That much we know of.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And we got Yell or Bassie who's staying. I'm going with Yell. Yeah, Delarian Turner Yell, 4 years of control still, more versatile, younger, better athlete, drafted by this team rather than an undrafted free agent picked up by the Elway regime. I mean, it really seems like Delarian Turner Yell would probably be the guy. The question is, how confident are they in the Kawan Williams playing the slot? They have plans for Sertan in the slot some. Do they think Mathis can play the slot? Faion Hicks. So we'll see. I don't think Bassie is I think he's probably slightly less than a Jag out there. But we'll see how it plays out. I would probably go with Delarian Turner Yell, a little bit more of an explosive player, especially on the special team side.
I had a question on here. Where did Bless Austin even come from? Original team was New York Jets. He's 26-year-old out of Rutgers, cornerback out of Rutgers.
Chop that wood, baby. Cody W coming in saying, if Sutton, Judy, and KJ are in one is going to be open, you can only double team so many guys. Yeah, one might be open. Is the pass rush going to hold up? But no, absolutely. You hope one of those guys is going to be open there. That seems like the trio you hope is going to be there. It's a little bit unfortunate that you can't be rotating there with Tim Patrick coming in. Don't forget about Tim, man. It's too bad for him, but excited to see what KJ and Judy and Sutton can do. This is a very much a unit that we should be excited for this year, but probably now has become I used to, bank on the edge rushing position being the most boom or bust on this team. Feeling pretty good about the depth of the edges coming in. Malik Reed playing solid out there. I think he's looked better this year than last. Baron Browning emerging. You have Chubb and Gregory pushing towards being healthy and starting this year. So now it's probably become the wide receivers are the most volatile position on this team that you are really hoping can break out, because every single one of those guys, big question marks.
And you hope that your quarterback, again, will have the pre-snap reads in order to figure out which of those guys is going to be open. And that's the things that they're working on day in and day out. They've been working on since he signed, including going down to California and working together on that. If you see this, I want you to do this. We've heard Russell Wilson say that about different players, some of the young guys too. He said, I can't remember who it was. I actually said about Ojemudia one time. He goes, if you see this look, I want you to do this. And he did it, and I loved it. That's what Russell Wilson was saying about it. So they're working on that every time. And having a quarterback like that, those are the things you don't see. We talked a lot about that last year. The difference between Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock could be some of the negative stuff that Teddy's able to get them out of before it even happens. Now, he's limited in what he's able to do going forward, but how many bad plays does he save that you don't know about because we don't know what the calls are, the checks, and those type of stuff? I feel good that Russell Wilson, with his track record, is going to be able to get teams in the right play and pick the right wide receivers based on coverage.
Yep, absolutely. It should help a lot. It's about the quarterback. James Richard coming in with the Predator logo there over on YouTube saying, off topic, Broncos fans, please quit putting PS2 in the same sentence as Bailey. That requires a career. Yeah, I mean, putting the cart before the horse there a little bit. You can be excited about Patrick Surtain. Maybe he's the most, wouldn't even say he's the most talented quarterback since Bailey, because I think that's probably not giving enough credit to Talib, who was really good here for a number of years. But no doubt Patrick Surtain is an emerging superstar, and it would be incredible if we could eventually have him in the same breath as Champ Bailey. But you're right. Champ Bailey's you have an argument to say that Champ Bailey is the best cornerback to ever play the game.
Yeah, for sure. And you can just talk about on the path or tendencies or, wouldn't it be great if those type of things. But, when you're putting together an all Broncos team, you got one of those. If you're talking about those two guys, and you can only take one, you know who it's going to be right now. Yeah. It's going to be Champ Bailey.
Yep. 100%. So let's keep it going here on the news today. At first, we got Michael Ronquillo saying, who's going to win the backup quarterback job, Rippon or Johnson? My poll question. I still think it's going to be Johnson, but it sounded like Hackett said Rippon did well in that last game in comparison to Johnson, who was just running for his freaking life in that game, man. The left tackle, I don't remember who it was, but just got absolutely destroyed by AJ Epinesa and Shaq Lawson repeatedly out there. But I think it'll still be Johnson. We'll see how Rippon does against this Vikings team with Johnson getting to go up against the third team, but more of a battle than I had thought prior to that Bills game specifically.
Yeah, I think if God forbid, you've got to, let's say Russell Wilson runs in the middle of the third quarter and has to use the restroom, who comes out first? Josh Johnson. I think Josh Johnson's your backup quarterback to start the season. And then before we get to the news, I want to say hey to Lawrence real quick. Came in with some stars. Fellas, it's about time I catch a show. I used all my data before the new pay period. Got to get Wi-Fi to catch shows. It's never been harder to watch. Well, we're sorry, man. We're sorry it's been a little tough, but we're glad you're here with us, and thank you for the stars, my friend.
Yep. Yeah, thank you so much, Lawrence. It's all good. Thank you for making the time to join us still. And the news. I guess the big news here today, obviously Rippon getting the start. We kind of talked about that this morning or last night on all the shows running together, Scott. But big news today. Jonas Griffith sounds like he might be ready week one. Nathaniel Hackett took the podium today, and he was asked about Jonas Griffith being ready to go at Seattle. in week 1. And he said, he was also asked about the impression of the linebacker position. And he said, we're definitely hoping for linebacker Jonas Griffith to be ready by week 1. That's kind of our aiming point. We very much dodged a bullet with that one, but the linebackers, they have done a good job. I think they are continually getting better and understanding the system. We have a couple of veterans there, and we have some young guys that have really improved. We want to take advantage of the guys we have here right now. So Joe Schobert, we hardly knew ye. Jonas Griffith, something we talked about yesterday. Does this mean anything about the likes of Jonas Griffith? Apparently it does. So might be ready week 1. Even if it's in a sparing role, that would be good to get him out there.
Yeah, we said we had several questions about that move to waive Joe Schobert so quickly. And one of them was, what is this? Does this mean that Jonas Griffith is back sooner than we thought he could be ready for week 1? It was a possibility. Does this mean that it's trending that direction, or was Schobert just that bad? Combination of several. I still think that if Joe Schobert had shown better, he wouldn't have gotten cut. He'd keep him around. Yeah. But it also means that Jonas Griffith, and that's what Nathaniel Hackett confirmed today, that he is trending towards being ready for week 1. And that is also on top of hearing KJ Hamler could play in the preseason this week. Also excellent news about Jonas Griffith, the linebacker position.
Yeah. So what are your week 1 expectations for Griffith? And if he is, or do you think he'll be close to playing 100% of the snaps, or like the main linebacker 2% of the snaps? Because it does seem like this Seattle team is probably going to be one that's more, balanced, wanting to run the football, even though Rashad Penny's injured. Kenneth Walker is dealing with a hernia. Before it was, oh yeah, he's definitely going to play week 1, to now like, oh, we're going to see how he progresses and how he plays that time. Loved Kenneth Walker coming out. Probably my favorite back in last year's draft. But what are your expectations for Griffith coming off of this? Obviously, neither of us being a orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah, depending on how healthy he is. If he's 100%, then him and Josie Jewell be the guys. I would expect Josie Jewell to see a majority of the snaps in those packages, and then probably splitting with Alex Singleton on there. Again, the passing game on paper doesn't scare you a lick. Make sure that Metcalf is taken care of. You know where he is, and after that, go after the quarterback. Stop the running game. Crowd the box. We've said this before. The Seahawks are going through what the Broncos did. What did you do? You stack the box. Make the quarterback beat you.
Yep. No, absolutely. Okay, so let's say Jonas Griffith is 78%. Random number. I don't know. What do you think plays out there with the other linebacking spots then for the Broncos?
It's tough to know just because we don't know how much they're going to play 2 at a time. Right now, if it's one, Josie Jewell's probably going to be your guy early on, and especially in running type of downs, which is 1 out of 3. And after that, we just don't know what Evero is going to be throwing out there as far as how many times are we going to see 2 linebacker sets. Enough, but I think if he's healthy-ish as they're working him back up to speed into form, you go. Josie Jewell will get the most snaps, and then the next 2 will be a tie somewhere between Singleton and Jonas.
And not Stranad. Okay, I agree with you. I think it'll be Singleton in that game specifically, just because going to see probably more heavier personnel with the Seahawks wanting to run the football. If it was more of a spread-based team, maybe you lean for Stranad.
More steady running game.
Yep,
all those things.
Yep, exactly. And talking so much about the single linebacker approach, which Evero and the Rams did a lot the last couple seasons. I think on paper, in theory, that's really good. And you know how much I devalue the linebackers compared to other positions. I'm worried that the Broncos defensive line, I don't know if they have the horses or the power up front to do that. And even if they want to do the single linebacker look, if you're starting Draymond Jones at 285 and Deshaun Williams at 290 and DJ Jones, who's big, but not very long, I don't know if you have the gap control to play the single linebacker.
When I've got Aaron Donald in the middle of my defensive line, I can do different things. You know, I can get away with only 1 inside linebacker against a run because he's not just occupying 2 defensive linemen like a big nose guard might. He's beating them.
Yeah.
He's changing things and pushing things wide and getting penetration so quickly that guys are going outside, and you needed more speed on the edges because as soon as you hand off, like, oh, there's Aaron Donald. Yeah. So not everybody's got one of those guys. So again, we'll see how the packages start to shape up. This should be a team, the Seahawks should be a team that will try and establish the run a little bit more because there's just no way they trust their quarterbacks.
Yeah. And obviously Aaron Donald, best single player in football. Not the most valuable because of not a quarterback, but the best player, maybe the best defensive player of all time. But I do think the Rams defense was pretty good defensively, a defensive line specifically around him as well, with some mass guys. Greg Gaines, really good nose tackle, played for the University of Washington. Sebastian Joseph Day, sounds like the Broncos tried to get him before he signed with the Chargers and then pivoted, paying more money to DJ Jones and also Ashawn Robinson. So I just don't know if the Broncos have the actual mass up front to run that. The more I watch how they look up front, now granted, we've only seen Deshaun Williams play like 10 snaps in preseason. Purcell hasn't played any. DJ Jones hasn't played any. Draymond Jones hasn't played any. Maybe it looks completely different, but alarm bell's going off for the single linebacker right now because he just can't be pushed 5 yards into the linebacker's lap every time. So we'll see. Definitely Jonathan Harrison, McTelvin Najim, not great. James Richard, go ahead.
Yeah, James Richard coming again with $2 coming in blue. So speaking of the running game, the Denver Broncos running game, Javonte, let's go Broncos.
Yeah.
I was trying to click off of that and almost hit leave studio. Bye, Scott.
Bye. Peace. That's our show.
Again, you should be good enough. You don't want to have to overcompensate for a weakness. You want to be able to have a strength and then get aggressive. So talking about having one single linebacker for the Rams because you've got an unbelievable strength in front of you lets you do some different things. I don't want to have to commit 2 linebackers to the line of scrimmage, but the good part about this defense is they're so good on the back end and on the edges, on the perimeters between what you think you've got with Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory at edge, what you've got in Pat Surtain and Justin Simmons, that if you have to load the box a little bit more and dare a team to beat you in the pass, you can do that and say, okay, come after our defensive backs. Dare you. We're gonna force you to, because we're gonna have to stop the box. And you can stop the run if you sell out to do it. You just are then vulnerable on the back end.
Yeah.
Well, how vulnerable are you when you've got this set of defensive backs and edge guys?
As long as the top guys stay healthy. That's why we keep talking about the depth of the cornerback room being not a red flag, but maybe a pink flag for us here, at least for me, entering this season. We had a question here from Cody W saying, does Benito take Reed's spot? Should Reed make the team? If the Broncos can get, let's say, a 5th round pick for Reed, I'm probably sending him off just because you only have 1 year of control. You got other options there for him. But Reed, I thought has looked okay in preseason. I'm definitely a critic of him being a starter, but as your 4th rusher, that's pretty good. And we had a comment from Bradley Chubb today on the podium talking about Benito, saying just trying to help him has been the main thing. Trying not to think of it big picture. And I think more of, okay, this is what I have to do right now.
Compartmentalize.
Yes, compartmentalize.
1 play at a time, kid. That's what he was saying. 1 play at a time.
and then he said, I feel like he's going to get better as time goes on. Like you said, you can see him swimming and thinking too much out there. Just have to calm your mind when you're out there. And went back, watched number 42 so far in preseason. Hasn't looked good. Has looked good first step. Speed guy, no doubt. But if offensive linemen gets their hands on him, they are taking him for a ride and washing him out of plays. And a lot of his run defense that we've seen is him overcommitting on some plays. And if the running back bounces outside at all, or it's a trap, I mean, God forbid, there's going to be some space for the rushers or the quarterback. So probably Reed right now should make the team. Benito is very much limited to 3rd and long packages until he shows he can not be a detriment to the team in run defense.
Lawrence coming in also with some stars. He says, as the weeks go, I have a feeling we're overhyping our wide receiver core. How do I even stack up against the league? Personally, I think they're more middle of the pack, even though I want them to be superstars. But who knows? I could change with Russ, or so we hope. And the thing is you don't necessarily need 3 superstars. I think you've got as good a group as maybe not any. There's probably some better ones out there. But Cortland Sutton was on the way to being a superstar before he got hurt. And he was doing it with some Jags at quarterback, with poor quarterback play. He should be back. You heard me say just a few minutes ago that it typically takes 18 months to come back fully. I mean, fully from a bad ACL tear.
Yeah.
He's back. We're going to see hopefully the best of Cortland Sutton for a skill player. Strength guys can usually overcome it a little bit sooner. But the quick twitch guys, it's still a nasty injury. People come back sooner, but there's still a lot to it. And there's usually setbacks along the way. Something else tears that atrophied while you weren't able to work your knee as well. There's a lot of hamstring pulls that go along with those. Jerry Judy, he was a 1st round pick for a reason. A lot of talent. KJ Hamler, again, there's talent there. It's unproven talent for the most part. And that's kind of what you're saying, Lawrence. So are we overhyping them? No, I rarely overhype. I'm kind of undersell, try and overdeliver. I just think there's a lot to be excited about there. And there's a lot of potential there to be excited about. I've said, frankly, going back to an Atlanta Falcons discussion, that Drake London, the rookie wide receiver for Atlanta, could end up being the highest receiver out of this bunch, surely on available targets. Mm-hmm. I might not have a 1,500-yard receiver with the Denver Broncos because I'm going to have 4 guys catch 800 yards. So we might not know that they're breakout wide receivers because as a collective, none of them really shines. We may have individual games of brilliance, but it could be a different guy every other game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Lawrence is pretty, unfortunately, more right on the money than we think. Kind of already talked about it earlier, what a high variance position. Now that Tim Patrick, your steady guy, is out for the season. But really the one here that needs to, part of my language, would step the hell up is Jerry Judy. Being drafted before CeeDee Lamb, being drafted before Justin Jefferson, the poor body language, the tweets. I got my conditioning in after playing the Chiefs. A lot of people, love Judy because the Alabama, the highlight tapes and whatnot, very talented player. But that's 3 years in the past now. Now you have a quarterback. Now you have Tim Patrick out of there. Judy has to step up or the offense is going to be limited. So not saying throw down the gauntlet, but dude's got to grow up and dude's got to deliver this season. It's not now or never, but it's now for sure.
I always like to poke fun at Calvin Ridley being a double holdback old guy.
Yeah.
Jerry Judy will finish this season younger than Calvin Ridley was as a rookie with the Atlanta Falcons. So he's still a relatively young dude. I mean, you're talking about him growing up. Well, yeah, it's time. He's 23 years old. He'll turn 24 after the season, for God's sakes. He is a young dude, and it is time for him to grow up. And hopefully that happens with the Denver Broncos. It's one of the risks of taking a guy that's so young is I'm going to burn through my 4 years and make a decision on a 5th-year option on a guy that's still in his early 20s. Yep. He's a baby. So, hopefully he will, but that's part of the scouting process is the maturation of the players. Hopefully this is his time. I have full confidence that in this offense, playing in the middle, he's going to be the go-to guy when a play breaks down. When Russ begins to improvise, he's going to be a go-to guy.
Yeah. First, Michaela coming in saying, "Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Let's ride." Who else is joining the fantasy league? Scott, are you in the fantasy league for MHH? That's more of a Scott and Chad and Zach thing.
Yeah, I'm not in the fantasy league. I am not. So she's on YouTube. Maybe some of the other players are other folks. We got, pushing 200 people in the chat. So I'm sure you can find someone that is, but I am not. I do not play fantasy football.
Yeah. That's not been my thing. We got Ethan coming in 25. Smackaroos coming in, saying I read it's dollars now. We're over on the dollar side. I read Hamler is going to wear a brace all season. His game is speed. Thoughts? Did you see this about Hamler wearing a brace?
I hadn't seen that yet, but that doesn't bother me so much. The technology and those things, I wouldn't mind him being in 2 braces. There's different braces. There's the big strap-on things that look like leg casts that the offensive linemen wear. And then there's smaller braces for skill guys. So if it makes him, especially early on, if it hinders him at all and starts messing with his ability to make money, he'll tear the thing off if he feels comfortable.
He did mention it in his press conference saying the knee brace is annoying, but I have to wear it. That's the only thing. But other than that, I'm moving good. So keep an eye on it. Definitely something to keep to ponder and good calling out there, Ethan. Maybe it'll hinder him some, but even KJ Hamler playing at 90% speed is faster than 90% of the wide receivers in the league. We got Patrick Witsy coming in saying, "Good afternoon, evening, my coffee friends." Wiltsy. Is this our coffee buddy?
That absolutely is Lion Coffee. I'm going to show real quick, Patrick, because Patrick, this isn't an ad. This isn't a paid ad or anything. This is just a thank you that I want to give every so often. But Patrick was watching the show, said, "Hey, any of y'all like some coffee?" We're like, yeah. Might fit better on Broncos for breakfast, even though you're in Hawaii. And he sent us an assortment of coffees from Lion Coffee from Hawaii, and he can join us in the evenings. And this is Broncos for breakfast for dinner. So I went through the French roast first, loved it. And I'm not a French roast guy. I'm a dark roast, but not a French roast. Loved it. So can't wait to dig into some others. Patrick, you the man. Thank you so much. I highly recommend checking out lioncoffee.com.
Yeah, really good. I took it with me backpacking this weekend with my French press. Took some macadamia and vanilla, and had it sitting there with mountain views. And man, it was hard to beat. So Patrick, thank you so much, man. That was so nice of you. I can't even get over it. Definitely my coffee friends. Good stuff. If I'm ever in Hawaii, I'll be definitely checking out Lion Coffee for sure. James Richard over on YouTube again, $2 saying, who's a better middle linebacker, Gregory or Benito? Well, neither of these guys are middle linebackers, but I guess Benito's a little bit more of a hybrid player. So I'd go with him, but Gregory's definitely the better edge rusher.
Yeah, and I didn't know if he meant Browning on that either. I would, if I had to put one of them at middle linebacker, I'd put Randy Gregory in there. He's bigger, longer, just as good an athlete. So, or Major League Baseball, I haven't seen him, swing a bat. But who fits better in the middle, Gregory or Benito? If I had to choose one, but I'm not exactly sure that's what you meant, James. So if you have again, and I missed this one earlier, so I apologize, Mark. The second Facebook page started getting stars, and I didn't see it come in. So this one was from way earlier. Thanks for your patience, and sorry I missed it. He says, any cornerback you see assigning with cuts in free agency? I went on record this morning saying I would bet a lot of money there is a 300-pounder that comes in that is on this roster that is not on this roster now. Come 53, come 53, come first week of the season. Could that happen in the cornerback too? Now the hard part, Mark, is you say, is it an option? Yeah, there's going to be some talented players out there. There's about to be 1,000 new players that become available on the waiver wire over the course of the next week. Are they better than what you've got? Maybe. Now, I feel confident saying there's going to be some defensive linemen out there that become available that you'll want to bring in. So I truly believe there will be another big interior lineman that comes in. But could it happen at cornerback too, Nick?
I think it might, but a lot of it's going to depend on Michael Ojemudia's health. But that boundary cornerback spot's concerning. The big issue is that a lot of teams feel that way about their first cornerback off the bench. So are you going to get a guy better than even Damari Mathis or Michael Ojemudia off the street? I don't know.
That said, not everybody's going to have, going to be a contender.
Yeah.
That's where having Russell Wilson and saying, the new excitement that goes around, that's where that helps, where I can get a guy coming, a Stephon Gilmore that got waived after week 1 because they couldn't come to a contract extension. All right, I want to play. And at the time, Carolina Panthers, where he was from, they were 3-0, at the time. Yeah, they were a dumpster fire after that, and it was all a mirage. But, he ended up going to the Indianapolis Colts. So this year, because they're perceived contenders. So how many players how many teams will you be competing with that look like better contenders than you? I think that's a question I'm trying to spit out.
Yeah. The guys that could be available might want to come here more so, especially playing with Surtain. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Patrick also coming in. Do you think we might pick up a right tackle from waivers or cuts?
And he had the same question.
Yeah. I think right tackle is less likely than cornerback, wide receiver, even though the Broncos have some good wide receivers. Maybe you're looking for a guy there, tight end and cornerback, just because the right tackles available probably not going to be great. You're probably more so banking on Billy Turner being good, being like, well, if we have to go with Calvin Anderson, we can. And I think it's more of a position where, let's say Billy Turner has a setback, knock on wood. Calvin Anderson is just not getting it done. You might have to bite the bullet and give up some draft capital to make a move there when the time comes. But I don't see any tackles becoming available that would be better than Calvin Anderson for the price that you have to pay.
Yeah. So, well, again, you asked the question, who's going to be out there? That's the hard part. I don't, Calvin Anderson, again, there is your depth. He was okay. He was your third guy. You're kind of waiting on Tom Compton to get healthy again to provide some more competition in that spot. Because the two guys that you brought in to compete for the starting right tackle position, neither one of them have played it down yet. Well, not that any of them have, but in the preseason either. So we'll see. You know what I love seeing, though, is EJ coming in. You've been a monster this month, EJ. A monster coming in hot pink, the fuchsia. Says, I'm late, but I'm glad I may have caught you live. Keep up the great work. Thank you, dude. It's guys like you that keep us going. No doubt about that. Appreciate you, EJ.
Yeah, thank you so much, EJ, man. That's, again, coming in big time. We appreciate you so much. So, Scott, any other takeaways from these press conferences before we start to wrap it up here?
Let me see. I felt like there was
KJ Hamler, Bradley Chubb, and Nathaniel Hackett, the big ones today.
And Jonas Griffith.
Jonas Griffith too.
Yeah, Jonas Griffith news. And then I the talk, Brett Rippon being mentioned is, going to start. He said he's earned it. He will get that start. And then for me, again, we hit it at the top of the show. Thoughts on wide receivers Kendall, Hinton, and Seth Williams. I think all these guys have a chance to be able to play in the NFL. Oh, that's foreboding.
Yeah.
That means, but not here. We'll see. But that's what my cynical self heard when I hear that quote, but not here. So we'll see. Got about 6 days until the 53.
Yeah. Will be interesting to see how it plays out. But we got Quentin coming in saying, good show, Nick and Scott. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up here. I got to go make dinner and get ready for a backpacking trip that I leave for tomorrow. So back out into the wilderness I go. Got to take advantage of the, 2 months of great weather we have here in the Pacific Northwest when it's just heaven on earth. The other times it makes the clouds and the rain worth it. But we appreciate you guys joining us again today. Scott and I will see you again tomorrow morning. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendall MHH. Also make sure you're following us at BFB_pod and MHI_pod. Both shows today, whichever one this is. I'm wearing the MHI hat. Luke will be back next week. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join our Facebook community, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as the ticker says underneath, if you're joining us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. Hit the bell notifications for when we go live. So that way, if some folks aren't immediately on time, like Scott and I are typically, you're not sitting there waiting, twiddling your thumbs. You can go take the trash out or, start cooking dinner or make yourself some coffee, whatever you like to do, maybe some Lion coffee. So appreciate you guys. Scott, what's the rest of your night looking like?
Oh, bedtime for me, dude. Braves already played. They put up 14 on the Pirates today. So I'll probably, chill out, get a show, get up bright and early and be ready to go again tomorrow morning, talking some Broncos football. And some of y'all will see in the morning. For others that are just, that we only get to catch at night, I'm glad I got to see you a couple times this week. It's been a pleasure being on this side of the camera for you and kind of reintroducing myself to Broncos country. I've had a blast.
Yeah, a lot of fun. We'll see you guys in the morning show, 7:00 Mountain Time. But until then, you guys make sure you're choosing kindness and compassion. We'll see you tomorrow. Go Broncos.